Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. In yesterday's little quick tip, we talked about thinking about your latest or greatest success, and essentially, kind of like having a gratitude journal or something like that, where oftentimes just remembering that you succeed is difficult. And so thank you, thank you, Jonathan, for reminding me to remember to succeed today. Because I said yesterday I wanted to talk more about that because I watched a video recently. And I believe it was a podcast. I'm not positive. I believe it was. If I had to guess, I would say it was the Blocks podcast with Neil Brennan, but I don't remember how recent of an episode it was or where the context was. And I was going to go try to search for it, and I didn't. Instead, I just did a little Google search to try to set this topic in my head a little bit, because the idea is that failure, we are predispositioned to remember failure. We are genetically predispositioned to remember failure. And I thought about that for a while when I heard it said on that podcast, and it makes sense. As I've aged, as I've grown older, not that I'm old, but as I've grown older, I've recognized just how much my mood or sometimes even my decisions are out of my control. That there are facets of me that are, I guess, predetermined, or at least that some of my actions are not necessarily thoughtful actions. They're just things that your body or your mind does for self-preservation or for want or need or whatever. And I recognize that a lot of things are more of a biological response than a intellectual response. And I think that for me, learning meditation techniques, learning cognitive behavior techniques, those are ways of trying to help challenge those biological responses and possibly reprogram them. And I think it's possible to some degree, but also on a lot of ways I don't think it necessarily is. If you take time out of every day to ruminate on your successes, to ruminate on your wins, then yes, I think that will become a part of you. That remembering your success will become a part of you. Or you'll become like a raging narcissist. And I think that narcissists have no issues remembering their successes, and they don't remember their failures at all. But I think that by nature, we kind of are predispositioned to remembering our failures. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If you think about like the thing that I read today on the internet was biologically, it's much more important to remember that time you almost died. It's way more important to remember that than it is to remember the bush full of berries that you found. It's just way more important, right? Learning that, watching this man or this person eat this fruit and then dying, that's way more important to you than remembering where the good fruit is. Because if you can remember the negatives, then everything else is a positive, or at least a net neutral, right? And the negatives are more important biologically. The problem is, in today's modern society, we don't really have a lot of biological negative. You're not. we label things clearly, so you're not accidentally ingesting ant poison or whatever. We've educated people on food safety, and so we're not necessarily biologically at risk constantly. That being said, we strap ourselves into metal containers and travel at unforeseen, biologically unforeseen speeds, and fly. We do a lot of very dangerous activities as part of our modern life, but maybe we've programmed those away. We made those seem much less dangerous just by virtue of performing those activities regularly. And so perhaps it's the same thing. Perhaps by remembering your successes regularly, you will start to remember them more, because you don't need to remember the failures. Like, it's fine. You're going to succeed. You exist. If you're watching this video, it means you have a level of success in your life that puts you above millions of other people. You've already succeeded. And you're going to continue to succeed by virtue of the societies that we've built, the technologies that we've built, the supply chains that we've built. You're doing just fine. And so there's no need to remember failure other than as a learning tool. And I mentioned that yesterday. It's very good to say, all right, why did I fail this, this, and this? Cool. You can remember, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but you don't need to know why you remember that. Like, the failure you don't need to ruminate on it. Figure out why you failed, move on. And I think that you can kind of force the habit of remembering your successes and being okay with them. That's another part. For me personally, I have successes that other people say, look at this success, look at this success, look at this success. But when I look at it, I just see, it's not as good as it could have been, or I should have done more, or I should have done better, or whatever. And that's part of me remembering the failures that led up to it. And in my case, that's generally procrastination. Generally, I did the thing moments before the deadline, and therefore I didn't put the effort in that could have made it better. But the people who, whatever it is, whether it's, a piece of furniture or something I've written or wrote or whatever, like, they see the end result and they go, oh, this is great, thank you. And I see the end result and go, man, if I'd have put a couple extra hours into that, if I'd have not waited. And that's been something I've been working on for years now, just kind of taking it as it comes instead of putting it off to the last minute. But yeah, I wanted to think about that a little bit. I wanted to put that out there. Like, is it biologically programmed in us to remember failures, and can we fix that? I think the answer to both is yes, at least to some degree, for both. I don't think that we're intrinsically pessimistic beings. That's not the same thing as remembering failures or remembering near-death experiences or whatever is a biological thing. Not letting them go, that's just pessimism, and I don't like thinking like that. So I agree with the book. Try to remember successes. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. All right, today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We are learning 19 quick tricks to feel better instantly. Number 17, act like today is already an awesome day. Research shows that although we think, we act because of the way we feel. In fact, we often feel because of the way we act. A great attitude always leads to great experiences. Fake it till you make it. It literally works. My entire time in the Marine Corps was fake it till you make it. And I made it.